Hey everyone, it's Aesah, and welcome to my video on the Project PBE Set 15 Meta Report. Project PBE is a tournament run by Kai. It's probably the most competitive PBE content you can find besides the Esports World Cup scrims. The thing with the EWC scrims is they are 4 vs 4 games, so it's kind of a different meta, even if you're in a really good spot to cap out your board and go level 9. A lot of times it's a better play to invest your gold into holding the other team's units. It really favors HP preservation. So I want to look at some of the games here. They played the finals of this tournament today as of recording this video. And I'm not going to look at the whole thing, but I've watched the entire tournament. But I just want to look at the top two in each lobby and kind of talk about some of the lines that we see are really common. So this is the end of the first game, and we have a vertical Star Guardian line versus Darius 3. These comps were extremely common throughout the tournament. Darius was even contested in one game, but I would say every game Darius was not contested. I think Darius went top two. Anytime someone made a 3-star Darius, I think they went at least top two in this tournament. So definitely one of the strongest lines. Silvermere is the best performing artifact in the data in the entire game. Darius is the best user, so you can look out for that. This was the artifact start. Ludens on Ari, also one of the best artifacts. Ari does a lot of single target damage. The Ludens does a lot of overkill, which translates into a lot of splash damage. Yeah, I don't want to focus too much on this being the meta when launch happens because there is going to be another patch. However, I do want to say, like, if these lines are not touched that much, basically, depending on how big or small the patch is, if it's a small patch, you can expect both Vertical Star Guardian and Darius 3 to be extremely, extremely strong comps on set launch. Another few things I want to mention is this Unstoppable power-up. It's for the main tank, makes it dash through and stun a whole bunch of units. I saw this taken a lot throughout the entire tournament, and it was really, really strong. Frequently, this Poppy would be able to stun like 10 units, just like dashing through, stunning 4 of them, switching targets, dashing through, stunning like another 4. So very, very powerful tank power up. So look out for Unstoppable if you see it. Very, very, very strong. The Star Guardian line, we saw a lot of players itemizing Ari first because she's a 3 cost as kind of like your main carry to start out with. You can also just share AP items, like you can start with them on Syndra or even someone else. But ideally, you build your AP items first because you'll be able to use those throughout stage 2 and 3 on Ari. Even Ari2 for stage 4 when you'll get that value where you might not have Jinx 2 yet. And then later you add in Jinx as your secondary carry, who kind of like caps out your board going into stage 5 when you get 2-star Jinx. And then eventually you'll have Seraphine. Some good +1s to add. Honestly, there's a lot of legendaries like Sniper for Jinx. You can add in like Heavyweight for Poppy or just like Bastion, which is, it only buffs Rel, but it's also like a team-wide buff. And I mean, Braum 2 is just a good unit here, obviously. So yeah, for Star Guardian, this line. Supreme Cells, we saw a lot of 4 Supreme Cell we can see in the opposing board. And then sometimes this is played with 4 Mentor. So your level 8 board is very, very, very straightforward. 4 Supreme Cells, 4 Mentors. There's only 4 of each of those, so it's super straightforward. One thing is, since you're rolling for Darius, you're going to be on level 7 a lot of the times. So it might be tricky to transition into that board. Instead, you could just go like more into heavyweights, or just run in, and you just run like 4 heavyweights along with your 4 supreme cells on level 7, because of course Darius is one of each, so you can fit that at 7. And then once you get later into the game, you can start dropping some of the weaker heavyweights for just legendaries. Like we see our opponent has Twisted Fate and Zara here. Just looking at this fight, we can see like this Unstoppable, this Poppy just charging through, stunning a bunch of units, charging through, stunning a bunch of units again. It died really fast here, but can very easily get more casts off. Again, I'm not going to talk about every single comp played throughout this. I'm just going to look at the top 2 of each lobby. So, you know, about about 10 comps total and kind of see what's been performing well. So this is game number 2, showcasing 2 other comps. I would say these are probably the top 4 comps, the 2 that we see here and the 2 that were played in the first comp, or the first game. And this is a pretty straightforward 4 mentor is kind of what it revolves around, Rise as your primary carry. This one's a little interesting. Title actually went game plank 3. Oftentimes you're not going to have this game plank. Instead, you could just have these items on like a Volibear 2. Eventually, you can cap out with legendaries Yone and Lee Sin fit in really well. Lee Sin you can use almost any of his stances. Executioner with Rise. You can use Duelist with Udyr. You can use Juggernaut with also Udyr. So just depending on what you need here. So Title chose to go Executioner to give Executioner to his Rise. For Mentor basically is the core of the comp. Mighty Mech fits in really well. Aatrox, you activate Heavyweight, which is it's just for Koboko, which isn't a huge deal, but it's a team-wide buff as well. It gives you Juggernaut for Udyr, which again isn't a huge deal, but it's just nice to have. And Mighty Mech is just really easy to fit in because you really want to play Jarvan, strategist with Rise. So you're pretty much always playing Jarvan no matter what. Aatrox just as a 1 cost activates like 2 traits, so he's really good. And then Yone is just an amazing unit. You can also use Gameplank as well, who will give you Duelist with Udyr throughout the mid game. There's just a lot of flexibility. You can use Senna also to give Executioner to Rise before you have Lee Sin. You could also use Karma Lucian, but I didn't really see that much this tournament. Karma was more kind of like the backup carry if you missed Rise, but players definitely favored itemizing Rise by a lot. On the other side of the table, we have 8 Soul Fighter. We saw this a lot throughout the tournament. It's a really simple comp. You just play 8 Soul Fighters on level 8. And then on level 9, there's a variety of things you could do. Shen would give Edgelord to Samira, who's one of your main carries, being the 4-cost backliners, and also Bastion, which is a team-wide buff. So Shen's just kind of a nice add. If you have a +1, or if you're level 10 and you can fit 2 other units, you can get that Edgelord for your Samira with Volibear and Bastion with Braum, and just with just like 2 much more high quality units. Your other carry eventually will be Gwen. You can use AP items on Viego until you have Gwen, and Gwen will just have Sorcerer with Lux as like a true trait pair here, so it's pretty nice. But yeah, so these are 4 different comps we see in the top 2 of the first 2 games. Unless I forget something, I'm pretty sure these were the most popular comps throughout the entire tournament. In this next game, we see Star Guardian once again. So once again, you would build AP items, use Ari to kind of carry your mid game, and eventually Jinx to carry like your stage 5 onwards. Ari kind of carries your stage 3 and 4. And down here we have the crew reroll. The crew we didn't see that often, but if you had a really good spot for it, you could kind of like snowball the game. You can see that this player is actually winning with 71 HP. And still hasn't even hit Ziggs. Twisted Fate locked his shot, but he was strong enough to win the game just off the tempo. Next game, so game 4. Once again, we had Darius. Darius, every time someone had Darius 3, they end up performing really well. I think every single Darius 3 top 2'd, and it was contested 1 game, and they both bought forward. And on the other side, we have, once again, the 4 mentor comp. You're always playing this Jarvan. Once you play Jarvan, you really want Executioner for Rise. So a lot of times you can play Senna. That's already 2 Mighty Mech, and then Aatrox, of course, give trace to Koboko and Udyr, as mentioned earlier. Volibear is very frequently just a great carry to have in this comp. Positioning-wise, you do this because Volibear will jump, dealing extra damage when he changes targets. So a lot of times, if you position like this, Volibear will target the unit directly in front, but Yasuo will walk up here, blocking Volibear's path, forcing Volibear to change targets. For those of you guys who play like set 12 Frost, Hunter, Udyr, it's the same concept there. But yeah, Volibear is just really good to have. He's just a really good unit. Shares Edgelord with Yasuo, who was 3-star this game, but typically you're not 3-starring these 3 costs, but you can do it if you find the spot for it just to give your comp a little extra oomph. Yeah, so you can see the Volibear jumps at the start. I think a really common power up on Volibear is I'm not sure what it's called. It's called like Serious Slam or something. It makes him knock up his targets every time he changes targets. Super good for this unit because you're trying to make him change targets as often as possible. Yeah, so Darius board, same comments as before. You kind of play a lot of heavyweights in the mid game, and then you can just easily drop out of them in favor of legendaries late game. So now we have like this Lee Sin and this Gwen 2. Last time we had Twisted Fate 2 and Rise 2. It's kind of just, once you have the Darius 3, you just go 9. You don't have much. You're really stable off that. So you go 9, and then you roll a lot, go at 9. And whatever two-star legendaries you hit, obviously you don't know. It could be anything. You'll just throw those in. So again, here we have Lisa and Gwen. Last time we had Twisted Fate Zyra. But both of these players, I believe, played like 4 heavyweight on level 7 before they transitioned into these legendaries. I do want to mention positioning-wise here, the Darius player did something interesting where you can see like both of this 3-item tank and the Mighty Mech are still alive. So basically, Light Ego last second moved his backline back here, which made I don't know how to pronounce his name, Chia's very strong tanks walk down to the bottom left corner, while Darius kind of like wrapped around this way. So pretty interesting there. In game 4, we have some very familiar comps. Once again, a 4 mentor board versus a Darius board. So you can clearly see, along with Star Guardian, which has made 2 finals appearances, there's been 1 appearance by Soul Fighter, and now we have back-to-back games, which is this. We had 1 crew as well. 1 crew game, 1 Soul Fighter, 2 Star Guardian, and then now we have back-to-back games where it's Darius versus 4 mentor. So we can see that Taylor 1 actually stayed on the 4 heavyweight version this game. He's still level 8, so wasn't able to cap out in some of the ways the other Darius players have. Maybe just didn't hit early enough. I'm not really sure exactly. But also as a J3, you can go for this as another duo carry since you're going to be rolling for 3 costs anyways. Yeah, so that's an option here. Just staying on the 4 heavyweight. The 4 mentor board, I think not too much to say. Very, very similar to the other ones. Keeping the Aatrox for both traits. It would be 4 Mighty Mech. So replacing the Senna with an Akali, slightly stronger unit, not super important one way or the other. And is level 10, so it's able to fit an extra Zyra. Zyra has no traits, but she gives a team-wide attack speed buff every time she casts. So if you ever have an extra +1, and you can't really get to like you can't get to 5 Mighty Mech with 1 extra unit. Zyra is always a nice add to have just because, yeah, I mean, she just gives a team-wide buff, so she'll provide value to literally any board. Yone, if you can 2-star him, is a really, really strong unit to cap out with. We saw a lot of Yones basically topping the DPS meters in these final fights. A lot of times, this is a level 8 versus a level 10. But you can see that even the level 8 Darius board was still good enough to make it here. And yeah, that was game 5. Sorry, I think I said 1 earlier. So we had 1 Soul Fighter, 1 the crew. The crew was not that popular at all. He did go first, but that comp was played very rarely. Soulfire was played quite a lot to varying degrees of successes. Again, we didn't look at thirds and fourths. So 1 crew, 1 Soul Fighter, 2 Star Guardian, and then 3 Darius and 3 4 Mentor Mighty Mech. So honestly, fairly narrow meta. We'll see how things change on live. That's going to wrap it up for this video on the Project PBE Tournament Meta Report. If you have any comments or questions, let me know in the Discord, and thank you for watching.